We've got some breaking news. FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried sentenced today. Yahoo Finance's Jennifer Schonberger standing by with the details. Hey, Jennifer.
Brad, Sam Bankman-Fried, a former CEO of failed crypto exchange FTX, reportedly sentenced to 25 years in prison by a Manhattan federal judge after a jury found him guilty on 7 charges last fall for money laundering to securities fraud. Manhattan federal Judge Kaplan, who presided over that trial last fall, pointed to testimony from Bankman-Fried's former colleague, Carolyn Ellison, saying that he knew what he did was wrong and that he knew that Alameda was spending customer funds on risky investments. Kaplan saying that Sam Bankman-Fried perjured his testimony during a trial. Kaplan saying, quote, "People need to feel it's fair or we're back to trial by combat," or something like it. So punishment must fit the seriousness of the crime. And this was a serious crime. Now,
So why did he only get 25 years? 25 years? He faced up to 110 years. And by the way, the prosecutors, the prosecuting attorneys, after the sentencing, decided to not go forward with 2 other significant charges: bank fraud and bribing the Chinese government. I don't know what those sentences carry if convicted, but I would have to believe at least another, 30, 40 years, maybe a lot longer. So ask yourself the question, why did the prosecutors withdraw or not go forward with those 2 other charges? They felt that 25 years is sufficient, even though they supposedly recommended 50. And I say supposedly because, yeah, that's what they claim. But folks, the point is, this is a circus show. It's a complete, it's almost a fake trial. This is designed, orchestrated to get SBF off easy. And I hope that you're seeing that. And the real question is, though, why? Why? Now take a look, of course. Now, I guess the 3 co-conspirators, I suppose, I don't know what they're categorized as. His lovely girlfriend, Ellison, and his tech guy, Singh, I think it was, or is it Wang? I think Wang, I don't know, but Wang, Singh, and Ellison. I believe they're supposed to be sentenced over the next couple of months or so. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Here's the situation. When you allow co-conspirators to plea bargain, by the way, this is a test, and please don't post anything. I'm going to have to remove everything. I don't want any comments or anything. So if you want to see me, go to my website. YouTube is for losers and frauds and scammers. Every single person on YouTube who is monetizing their content is a scam artist. That's fact. Why? Why is that? And of course, no one's going to talk about this. Because between 90 to 95% of all ads on YouTube are scams. Everybody knows that. Just about all the ads on YouTube are scams. So who doesn't know that? Right? So think about that. If you're monetizing your channel, you have formed a business partnership with not only YouTube, which is running a criminal operation, in my opinion. And by the way, of course, this will be converted to a transcript, which goes through, they go through filtering. And, that alone will keep the video from not being put in any algorithm. You understand how it works, right? You see, a lot of these people out there who are running YouTube channels, they're so stupid. They don't even understand how YouTube operates. And certain material, even if it's not, even if it doesn't violate YouTube laws or regulations, they're not going to be put in the algorithm. You see, I'm not going to get into that. So, let me get back to why everyone on YouTube is monetizing as a fraud and a scammer. They're partnering with scammers. If you're monetizing your channel, you've agreed to be a business partner with YouTube, and you've allowed YouTube to put any ads it wants to on your content. Any ads. Now, once again, I don't know the exact statistics, but who can refute my estimate of at least 90% of the ads being scams on YouTube? You can't do it. I track them. In fact, I'm going to be releasing, maybe eventually on YouTube, but I'm going to be releasing on my site. I do it occasionally. I have a series called YouTube Scam Ads. I am recording all of these ads. Unfortunately, I have to, it's difficult because I have to, I've got an ad blocker. So I have to go to a browser without the ad blocker or try and disable it. But I have probably about 100 of these YouTube scam ads, including James Altucher's latest scam ad. It's AI nonsense. And so, think about it. If you're monetizing your content on YouTube, you formed a business relationship, a financial partnership with not only YouTube, but also the scamsters who are posting ads on your videos. That makes you a scammer. That makes you complicit in their scams. Let's think about this for a second. And this is a big issue. Let's think about this. Let's look at a extreme example, which don't think it can't happen again, because it will happen again. It's happened before, and it will happen again. And I'm talking about FTX. And let me just mention one thing, by the way. I was thinking about this last night. I'm kind of numb to it. I got numb to it a long time ago after what I faced. But think about it. This is now going on the 16th year, I guess it is. 16th year maybe. Do the math. After the 2008 financial crisis. Right? And still, virtually no one knows that not only did I predict it in detail, I'm actually the only person in the world that predicted the 2008 financial crisis. That's a fact. Anybody who's serious, who wants to escrow 50 grand to a law firm, let me know. And we'll place a bet. And I say money because I don't have time to deal with snowflake yappers. Put your money where your fucking mouth is, or shut the fuck up. I always put my money where my mouth is. I don't have time to deal with bullshit artists. If you're serious, put the money up. This makes you make a serious claim. You understand? It's not about being right or wrong. It means you're fucking serious and you're doing your due diligence. Now, if you don't know that I'm the only, and I actually made a video, I've written about this, and virtually nobody even understands this point. I'm the only person who predicted the financial crisis. Now, first of all, let's push that aside. I'll get back to that in a second. I'll get back to SBF here too. Think about this for a second. Let's assume that I wasn't the only one. Think about who I am in my stature and my credibility. I predicted the financial crisis in 2 books, the details. Where does that place me in the world as an analyst? Don't get your hopes up. I'm not coming back to ScamTube. This is a test for another reason. I'm not going to get into that. I'm not wasting my time. Listen, I'm not wasting my time. The YouTube audience is a bunch of idiots. That's why the scammers are all over YouTube. Okay? You think intelligence, reason, credibility is going to get anywhere on YouTube? These people that are fueling the scam artists, the fake investment gurus, they're the problem. And you guys are on YouTube. You're also the problem. What are you even doing on YouTube? This is a toxic, destructive platform that's melting your brain with disinformation, scams, and nonsense. You know, I don't know. Did I ever say I lived in Thailand? You all shouldn't go by what you hear by a bunch of idiots who want to defame me because I expose them as fraudsters. Did I ever say I don't live in Thailand? I don't fucking live in Thailand. Who said that? You see, that's a great example. You're believing nonsense. I don't live in Thailand. And I never even addressed the nonsense. If I addressed the nonsense, I would be here all day. Virtually everything that's been said about me is a lie. In fact, everything. When you expose people for frauds, they want to come back at you with ad hominem fallacies, because they have no fuel. So I don't live in Thailand, by the way. But interestingly, that you mentioned that, I'll be going to Bangkok, have a little holiday here for about 3 weeks. Be going to Bangkok soon. So I don't live in Thailand, folks. Don't live in Thailand. I mean, think about, where did you hear that? Did I ever say that? Think about that for a second. Stop and think about how your brain is working, how it works. I've just identified an issue for you. Subconsciously, think about it. Subconsciously, you're wired to think a certain way. And this is going to adversely impact your life until you consciously take a step back and say, hey, wait a second. And this is what, folks, this is what social media does to people. This is what the internet's doing to people. People are doing things subconsciously without realizing it. I warned about social media more than 12 years ago, 13, 14 years ago. I wrote I think it's a 3 or 5 part series on Facebook. I explained it all. I told you what's going to happen. In fact, I even went to the details on my website. You can see it. It's probably an open article on how Wall Street was pumping it up. They were pumping it to dump. It was a pump and dump. They were going to pump the valuation. And it's funny because James Altucher, the scam artist, who's got his little AI ad on YouTube now, talks about how, I said that Facebook should be worth $100 billion, not $1 billion. And when they went IPO, that's what it was valued at. I'm a hero. Well, guess what happened? As I predicted in those articles, I talked about the valuation. I talked about how the IPO process works. And I predicted a pump and dump. Guess what? Facebook lost 40% of its market value within 3 months of going IPO. Boom! That's what you call world-class expertise. I nailed it. Okay. So anyway, let me get back to the YouTubers who are all, if you're monetizing your channel, you're a scam artist and you're partnering with scammers. You formed a business partnership with scammers. And let's think about FTX. Think about all the YouTube scammers that endorsed FTX. And by the way, have you seen the video? I released a video on my site last year, and I think some people have put it online somewhere. Graham Stephan, I caught Graham Stephan. He's actually removed his FTX endorsements from his videos. I've got the original video, and I show you in a video, he's actually gone through and spliced it out. Can you believe this fraud? And he doesn't even understand. When you do that, you're in trouble legally. He spliced out in his videos FTX endorsement. I've got the original video, and I show you where you can find the video he has posted now. By the way, if you want to know if someone has edited their video, you know how you can tell, by the way? Simple way. There's advanced programs where you can tell. But there's a very easy way to tell. You know how? It's easy. When you go down below the video, you're going to see these timestamp things, right? You're going to see the images, and it's going to show you like a title of like a new topic, right? If you edit the video, and YouTube might fix this, they might alter it later on, I don't know. But as of right now, if you edit the video after it's been published, that disappears. And I say this because our favorite scam artist, fake investment guru, fraudster, Tom Nash, is always removing content from his videos. And it's funny. Just saw a video from Tom Nash. I don't watch this stuff. I don't pay attention. But I happen to check into Tom Nash. And Tom Nash now he's pumping NVIDIA. After it's already 2.2. In fact, this guy's so stupid. I remember him saying, oh, it's 2.5 trillion market cap. No, it's not. No, it's not. I mean, how can you get these things wrong? It's very simple. He's pumping it after it's up, 35,000% since I began recommending it. And I'm the only person, I can't know for sure, but I'm willing to bet a lot of money. I'm the only analyst in the world who was recommending NVIDIA and has been doing so every year since 2009. I started recommending it to my clients on Wall Street in 2001, a couple of years after it went public. In fact, the first research report that I ever published, I gave a list of 3 stocks, my top 3 stocks for long-term growth. And by the way, let me just mention something to educate the people about this, because many people don't understand. A lot of these fraudsters, what they'll do is they'll just put out a bunch of shit, like the YouTube guys, for instance. So the newsletter industry, the copywriting industry, what they'll do is they'll put out numerous lists so they can pick one that got it. You understand? Ever since I've been publishing research, I've only put out one list, and that was in 2009. Okay, I might do it in the future. And that was the list of my top 3 stocks for long-term growth. Guess what stock was number 1? NVIDIA. That's right. NVIDIA. Split adjusted cost basis for my subscribers is less than $3. Okay. It's one of the few stocks that's been on that list every year, every month of every year since 2009. Who else in the world can claim that? Not to mention Netflix, same thing. Actually, Netflix since 2008, since I wrote about it in my book and recommended it. Of course, these guys on YouTube are they're all committing fraud, by the way. These investment gurus are using discounted cash flow. That's a scam. Everything Money, Paul, Gabriel, you're a scam artist. There's many ways he's scamming people. All these guys, including Paul, they all use basically discounted cash flow. And to give you an example, and they're going by some of these professional fund managers. Oh, well, folks, I don't care who they are. I'm the guy that advises multi-billion-dollar funds. I'm the guy that predicted the financial crisis, and I'll get back to that here shortly. And if you don't know that about me, then you're just a putz. What the hell are you listening to me? If you're going to listen to anybody, the first thing you should do is find out about their background. Find out about their credibility. Okay? I've got all the links on my site. I've got the links to the chapters in the financial crisis recommending shorting the subprimes, Fannie and Freddie, which nobody in the world did. The banks, nobody in the world did. All this stuff. I even predicted the Dow bottom 2 years before it happened in my book. I discussed the possibility of a Dow 6,500 in my 2006 book. Guess where it bottomed March 10th, 2009? 6,500. Anyway. So, gosh, I wouldn't forget what I was talking about. So, let me just educate you people. All these guys, see, the fraud, before the fraud was the transparency fraud. He's so transparent. That's all a scam. You can fake anything on YouTube. Meet Kevin has done all that garbage. Transparency scam. The next scam is kind of like, oh, well, I'm going to show you the valuation. Okay. Nobody I've seen on YouTube, not a single one of these hucksters knows how to even use discounted cash flows. I'm a world expert in valuation. And I'm telling you right now, nobody knows how to use it, number one. And I'm not even going to get into that too much. I will say this, though. First of all, you can't use that. If you find the suitable stocks to use that valuation methodology, you have to continuously update it. Continuously. Why? Because new data is coming on the table, first of all. Second of all, it's not applicable to any stocks that any of these fake gurus are talking about. Why? Discounted cash flow, and you hear Paul, I'm a value investor. Benjamin Graham and Warren Buffett. You can't use traditional valuation methodology for tech stocks. It's impossible. When Benjamin Graham and Dodd were practicing value investing and teaching it, there was essentially no technology stocks. That was like in the 40s, 50s, 60s. There wasn't high tech. They were using things such as discounted cash flows, book value, looking at PE ratios, Gordon growth model, things of that nature. Now, and you can ask anybody in the world, I don't care, your favorite fund manager you think is credible, okay? Or your favorite professor, okay? And if they disagree with me, then we're going to have a debate. You cannot value intangible assets using discounted cash flow. Now think about it for a second. What percentage of, and I'm just going to name, the tech stocks. What percentage of revenues do you think comes from Tesla's, Tesla? What type of assets from Tesla? Intangible or tangible assets? How about Microsoft? How about Apple? The majority of the assets of these companies are intangible. How do you value those using discounted cash flow model? You can't do it. It's impossible. You understand? Folks, if you don't know this about me with NVIDIA, I think you need to go to my website, okay? I mean, you all should know this stuff. You should know my track record. And I'm gonna end there, and I'm gonna get back to the financial crisis stuff. Can you find? So first of all, who predicted the financial crisis? And the media has been promoting people. I've exposed all this. They're defrauding the public. You see, if I'm a con man, like the guys they promote in the media, I can go to the media and say, "Hey, here's my bio. Read this off." Well, they're not going to read it. They're going to say, "Well, Peter Schiff predicted the financial crisis. Jim Rickards predicted." They don't come out and say it themselves. Notice that. It's rare. Why? Because they don't want to get in trouble. They get the media to do it for them. See, because the media is they're legally allowed to lie. But in fact, it's fraud what they're doing. So what happens is that the media lies about their track record. They make all these claims, and if people believe it, it becomes urban legend. And urban legend becomes fact. They think it's fact. So ask yourself the question, have you ever bothered to take a look and see anyone's claims that they predicted the financial crisis? I challenge you to show me anyone who claimed to have predicted the financial crisis and who actually, show me that they did. I actually have an article, a piece. I've forgotten about it. I've been working on it for a while, listing all the people, right? And when you look into it, you're going to be shocked to see there was no evidence. They didn't. None of the people they say predicted it did. None of them. Now, most people, their idea comes from stupid Hollywood movies. Oh, The Big Short. Okay, that addresses the fund managers, right? That addresses the fund managers who shorted. Well, they didn't short the subprimes. They basically took positions in credit default swaps. But anyway, let's just say they shorted the subprimes, okay? Just to keep it simple. Got it? So think about it for a second. You've got some fund managers who made a bet. Did they write a book and show you in a very detailed manner what was going on the data, the analysis, what the risks were, what the scenarios were, what the possibilities were? Did they do that? No. They made a bet, first of all. Now, if that bet had gone against them, guess what? Nobody would have known about it. They wouldn't have told the media. So, I wrote a book giving you, it's a PhD-like thesis, really, the details of so many things, including the trade issue with China. I wrote extensively about all that as a national security threat. Why do you think Washington was using that book the Trump administration was using that book? I was informed that as kind of a guideline for certain things. That's a book written in 2006. I knew about all that stuff in advance. That's why I was banned. They don't want people to know what's going on. So, think about it. I came out 2 years in advance and said, here's what's going to happen, right? Put it in a book, you can't change it. And in addition to that, anybody who read the book could have made a fortune. Versus guys who made a bet, who could have hedged their bet, gotten out of their bet, and not told anybody about it. So, did they predict the meltdown or whatever? No, they did not. They made a bet. You understand? And it's kind of funny because since that time, these guys have been losers. Kyle Bass, who I work with at Bear Stearns, he had to shut down his hedge fund due to years of terrible performance. Finally. What's he doing now? He's got a private equity fund selling carbon credits, creating carbon credits, basically raising farmland. Do I know how do you value stocks? My way, I think, is the way. My way enabled me to pick Netflix as a long-term winner in 2008. I put it in a book. I put it in a case. I made a case study to short Blockbuster and buy Netflix if Blockbuster was going to go bankrupt. That's a case study in one of my books. Who's going to do that? So I know how to value stocks. The closest you're going to get to knowing how I do is my boot camps. I'm not going to disclose it. You look at certain things, high yield things. You don't do discounted cash flow. That's a fucking joke. Okay? That's a joke. That was more credible. I mean, I actually wrote about that many years, like 12, 13 years ago. It was more credible back then. But it was never credible to use exclusively. You can use it as a partial method. You think Wall Street analysts use discounted cash flow? They don't use that. I mean, think about it. You think these YouTube scammers are more credible than Wall Street analysts? And Wall Street analysts are pretty much a joke. But I'm qualified to say that. They're not. They're a billion times more credible, Wall Street analysts are, than these YouTube scammers. I can tell you that right now. They don't use discounted cash flow. That's fact. Now, do they discount cash flows expected to be made in the future to the present for certain things? Yes. But that's not their valuation model. Do any of these kids know that? No, they don't, because they're fucking clueless and never worked on Wall Street. Okay? Anybody who's using discounted cash flow or any form of that to value stocks is clueless. And that's why you look at Tom Nash. He's blown up. He's hidden the videos where he's recommended all this garbage. I've exposed a lot more of his videos. You can't use discounted cash flow to value companies where the majority of assets that generate the revenues are intangible assets. It's impossible. Do you understand discounted cash flows? Valuation, like traditional valuation methods, look at tangible assets. They focus on tangible assets. Do you know that? Tell me how you're going to value a patent using discounted cash flow. Tell me how you're going to value a patent. You can't just say, well, it's generating this cash flow, it's expected to. No, it doesn't work that way. Okay? Doesn't work that way. Okay? But let's get back to the financial crisis. It's shocking. This tells you what's going on in the world. This tells you what's going on. And it's all one big clusterfuck. It's one big circle jerk. The circle jerk, right? Elon Musk has got the circle jerk. Kathy Wood's in the circle jerk with Elon Musk, and Joe Rogan's in there, and the rainbow chasing loser fraudster Lex Friedman, and even Patrick Bet-David's in there now. You see, folks, it's all about the syndicate. I'm not going to get into all that's another topic of discussion, but let's get back to the financial crisis. You got me who wrote 2 books, who, by the way, publishers wouldn't publish them because I exposed Wall Street, I exposed corporate America, I exposed the outsourcing of jobs and destroying middle-class America. I exposed the open borders disaster. This was in 2006. Think about that. I exposed the lies about Social Security. I exposed the problems with pensions. Everyone thinks the 401k is great. I exposed all this stuff that threatened to unveil the reality of Wall Street and corporate America, which have completely taken over America, have destroyed America, and of course this virus has spread to Europe. It's destroying Europe now. That's why I was banned, by the way. No politically incorrect language, anything. I was banned because I exposed everything. I didn't just predict the financial crisis. I wrote a book that exposed everything. America's healthcare crisis, the fraud behind healthcare. And I wrote a book on healthcare after that because I worked in venture capital with telemedicine. And it's funny because, in one of the securities webinars that I do a few years ago, people were asking me about TelDocs. I didn't even know about Kathy Wood. And then I find out, it's one of her stocks. And I'm like, listen, guys, Kathy Wood has no technology expertise. She's a fucking moron and a con artist. Her so-called analysts are not even qualified. Her COO worked at a radio station selling advertisements. That's his job experience. They're not qualified. It's a complete farce. So ask yourself the question, who knows about technology? Kathy Wood, who has a history of being a failed fund manager and clown, or me, world-class analyst, Ivy League education, graduate degree in biophysics and biological chemistry, actually, in the chemistry department, who's worked in telemedicine, in venture capital telemedicine, healthcare IT. And I'm talking like back in 2005. So don't you think I would know if TelDocs is a legitimate company? It wasn't even on my radar. I said, it's a joke. Folks, if you tell the truth, if you know what's going on, if you're honest, you're not going to get anywhere in this world. You're banned, you're censored, you're done. That's the fact. Everybody with exposure is a scammer or gatekeeper. That's a fact. Everyone who has exposure is a scammer or gatekeeper. Think about who controls exposure. They're getting exposure for a reason. Great example. Great example. And I'll get back to the financial crisis in a second. Great example. Alex Jones. And by the way, many people out there, if you ever fell for Alex Jones, I'm sorry, you have an inherent issue with your mindset that needs to be corrected if possible. If you ever fell for this guy. Usually how it happens is people fall for him early on because he does say some things that are true, and then they gain confidence in him and they don't question him, and then he leads them down in the gutter as a gatekeeper. But some people, a lot of people, I think, eventually they realize, they start asking questions, say, wait a second, no. So it takes them many years to realize he's a fraud. Well, guess what? Alex Jones was being groomed to be mainstream. That's right. Did you all know that? He was being groomed to be mainstream. He started to get a lot of mainstream media interviews. This is a guy who rails against mainstream media, yet he's being interviewed, right? The View. What else? What's the British guy? He was getting all these. Why? Because the media was grooming him to because they knew he had a audience that he could sway. right? And what happened? Well, he made a big mistake. He happened to carry his conspiracies too far with his Sandy Hook baloney, and he happened to specifically damage the lives indirectly through his lies about Sandy Hook of at least one family that happens to be connected, if you know what I mean. Okay? Because Alex Jones is connected as well to the same group. Through his advertisers, through his wife, through his attorney. But he made this big move. And think about it now. Elon Musk has allowed this fraudster, Alex Jones, on Twitter. It's disgusting. But here's my point, folks. After this happened to Alex Jones, during this time, Joe Rogan was rising through the ranks as disinfo clown. Airhead idiot. He's part of the gang, by the way. He was rising through the ranks gradually, talking about stupid things, that don't matter. Alien invasions, Bigfoot, claiming the moon landing didn't happen, just stupid nonsense like that. And so what happened once Alex Jones was canned, Joe Rogan got put on the scene more so. This is when Joe Rogan began to try and become more credible by interviewing so-called, I'm going to say so-called, these are mostly perceived but not truly, intellectuals. And the conversations began to change. See, this is what's going on, by the way. Okay? So, that's the deal. Okay? Now let me get back to the financial crisis. Give me a name that somebody predicted the financial crisis besides me. There's nobody. There's absolutely nobody. Nobody. Prove to me. Don't go by the media. Prove to me. Right? Nobody. First of all, find a book that remotely comes close to my analysis and predictions for the real estate induced financial crisis. Second of all, find me a book that recommends to short. But actually, find me a book that you've ever seen that specifically recommends shorting stocks. I don't think you're ever going to find that. Anybody who read my books could have made a fortune, yet I was banned. A movie should have been made about me. Do you need everyone to tell you something is true for you to believe it? Or do you have a mind that you can actually decipher it on your own? See, the problem is these days, most people need, this is why the fake review and the fake comment and the fake like industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. And by the way, Tom Nash is paying people to post fake comments on his channel. I saw that. Oh, I made so much money from you. Most people, what do you all think? What do you all think? That's why all these boards and chat forums are fucking garbage. People that live on these things are mentally weak, and they're relying on people they don't know, and many of them are shills and paid ops. Why don't you research it on your own? Are you too lazy? Are you too unintelligent? You understand? So most people go by what they hear. And the problem is that there's a lot of baloney out there. Okay? Take a look at all these people that media claims predicted the financial crisis. And I predicted this 10 years ago. I said, you know what? As time goes on, as people forget the details of the financial crisis, you're going to have more and more charlatans come out there and claim they predicted it. Mark my words, this is going to keep going on. As time goes on, there's going to be more people that claim they predicted it. Why? Because as time goes on, it's going to be more difficult for people to first of all, people are just, they're not going to remember. They're just, okay, well, the media says he predicted it, then he did. This is the same thing with the 87 crash. Nobody predicted the 87 crash. It was not a predictable event. It was a one-day thing. It was not reliant or catalyzed by any fundamental issue. It was kind of like a flash crash. And you see the con men out there, oh, I predicted the 87, because they know that people don't know what I just told you. They don't understand that. You see? If you predicted the 87 collapse, first of all, show me your detailed thesis, first of all. Second of all, show me evidence that you weren't a broken clock, saying the same thing for years. Third and finally, what were you doing and saying after the collapse? Guaranteed you were saying, oh, it's going lower, it's going lower, it's going lower. And what happened not long after that? We entered what was then the longest and remains as the strongest bull market in U.S. history. You got it? You got it? Folks, when it comes to exposing scammers and scammers, I'm the king. At least in the genre of the media, and specifically the financial media, I'm the king. There's nobody that can even remotely come close to me because I've been doing it for nearly 20 years. And I've got over 1,000 videos, publications on that. I've exposed all these guys in the media. And I did that so people can understand how the media is a fraudulent platform, fraudulent enterprise, making dumb money off of them. What do you think YouTube is? It's media. Same thing. Okay? Ad-based content is a scam. Anything that's free is your enemy. Remember that. Anything that's free is your enemy. Free? Everyone wants free. Oh, it's free. Oh, I want it. It's free. Well, how is it free? How is Facebook free? How are they generating hundreds of billions of dollars in revenues? If you're using Facebook, you're the product. You're getting screwed. Free emails, same thing. You understand? That's the ad-based content model, which I've been talking about now for 15 years. Okay? So think about this for a second. And you all, if you don't know the details of my predictions of the financial crisis, I don't know what you're doing. If you've heard about me before and you didn't look into my track record, that tells me a lot about you. You're probably not leading your life the way you need to. If you're listening to somebody, and if somebody is making bold claims, especially, that sound impossible, don't accept it. Don't deny it. Research it. Research it and decide. The problem is, of course, really to truly understand all of that, you have to go through, and even the claim that nobody predicted the financial crisis except for me. And I made a great argument. The fund managers didn't predict it. In fact, they could have read my book and gotten the idea from me. We don't know that because you don't think that these guys knew about my book. I can assure you, well, I don't know that they did for sure, although Kyle Bass had my book. He got my book. But although I can tell you that there's a certain asset management firm that knew about me and that ordered books before they were released for their entire staff. I'm not going to disclose it, but I have if I need to prove it, I have I've got the name and I've got the emails. Okay. So think about it for a second, folks. The subprimes is an easy call. Subprimes are junk bonds. You know that. Low credit rated securities. And by the way, was there anybody in the world that wrote in their book? I mean, maybe there was a handful of people that wrote about an impending financial issue or real estate issue in a book before it happened, right? Maybe 4 or 5 people. The question is, how many of those people have been saying the same thing for years, right? Second question, show me the details that they wrote about. Did they explain how mortgages were securitized and packaged into tradable securities available to institutional investors only, called the mortgage-backed securities and the asset? No, they did not. I explained all that, and you can find that in the chapter that's on that you can see on the link, one of the links there. I mean, the book, that chapter, I mean, the book should be in all graduate business schools. All my books should, really. Okay. Did anybody recommend shorting the stocks? Did anyone predict the bottom in real estate? I predicted the bottom. 5 years before the real estate bubble bottomed. 5 years before, at the peak, when it was still at the peak, I predicted it would go down 35%, which is exactly where it bottomed in 2011. Think about that one. Nobody in the world did that. I predicted Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the AAA rated, right? They held AAA rated debt. I predicted they would collapse, file for bankruptcy, and be bailed out by the government. Nobody in the world did that. That was in 2006, my prediction, in November 2006. Think about that. Before the financial crisis began. And I recommended in my book, my follow-up book in 2007, early 2007, to short the subprimes, and I showed people how to do it. I instructed them what to look for, right? I told them about buying puts as a safer way. Think about that. I also told them to short the banks with a little more caution, just because I felt that they would, there was a lot more support going to be handed to the banks. I talked about Citigroup, which collapsed, Bank of America, which collapsed, many others, Washington Mutual, right? And the home builders. So tell me who predicted the financial crisis. And in fact, that book is still relevant today. I discussed throughout that book as one of the biggest topics, the biggest themes, America's trade disaster with China. I went into all the details with all that. Nobody in the world wrote about that. Think about that. And still today, nobody's even come to me, hey, Mike, how did you predict the financial crisis? I want to hear this. I want to know. Think about this. Guess what? You can't change facts. You can manipulate things. You can lie. You can't change the facts. People are being lied to. Okay? Think about this. Now, let's get back to SBF here.
The 32-year-old had faced up to 110 years in prison. Prosecutors had asked for 40 to 50 years, while Bankman-Fried's lawyers had asked for 6.5 years.
So ask yourself the question, why did SBF get off so easy? And once again, the prosecutors, the prosecuting attorneys, after the sentencing was announced, they decided to not move forward with two other major allegations. Bribing the Chinese government and bank fraud. Think about that. Why did they do that? Remember, they supposedly wanted 40 to 50 years, right? They brought the case against FBF. They wanted 40 to 50 years, supposedly. When he got 25, they said, okay, that's fine. You understand what I'm talking about here, folks. You understand this is all a farce. It's fake. It's a fake trial for the most part. It was staged this way to make it look like they're going after him, this and that. 25 years, he'll get out in 10, maybe 8 or 7. Anybody remember Mike Milken? Now, before I get to these other people, I want you to take a close look at who's involved in this trial. In fact, look at the people who were reporting on it. Take a close look at their names. Take a look at the judge. Take a look at the defending attorneys, the prosecuting attorneys, the reporters, everybody. You understand? What's the name? Judge Kaplan, right? So, it's strange. SBF's parents did not go to trial. You're telling me that 2 attorneys, one of which practiced securities compliance. And by the way, his father was the legal attorney for FTX. They're not going to trial? How is this possible? Kind of reminds me of many things, but one thing that comes to mind is remember the university admissions scandal a few years ago? All the people involved in there. I forgot the guy's name, the kingpin. Somebody can look him up. I want to say Singer. I'm not sure. Right? It's kind of a little network, a little network of people. They kind of behave like, it's kind of this network. It kind of behaves like a mafia, you see? And that's the problem that we face. I've been discriminated against because I'm not part of the mob. That's why I was banned. The media doesn't want to talk to me. In fact, I can tell you right now, I have a story. Robin Blumenthal, senior editor at Barron's, she knows me. She got my book. And guess what? And I knew what she was doing when we were talking on the phone. This is back 2010. So she was basically checking to see what my view was on Israel. Was I a pro-Israel supporter? And because I was not, guess what? Oh no, they don't want to talk to me about America's financial apocalypse, about me predicting everything. I kid you not. I've got the emails, by the way. That's how it works, folks. The media screens you. Now, sometimes, a lot of times, they know your position. They can look at who you are. They can kind of look at your name and tell. Other times, they'll figure out, let's make sure we got the right guy here. We don't want people, you understand. This is what's going on. Now, let me mention some names here. See, I want to see if you guys can find a common thread. I'm looking for a common thread. Dennis Levine, Michael Milken, Ivan Boesky, Martin Siegel. These were guys involved in the savings and loan crisis of the 70s, 80s. How about Andrew Fastow? Enron, remember Enron collapse? All the accounting fraud. How about David Myers and Bernie Ebers? WorldCom. More accounting fraud. Steve Case. You probably didn't know Steve Case was involved in accounting fraud with AOL, did you? Why do you think the Time Warner AOL merger was the worst in history? Okay. How about Sam Waxel? Does that name sound familiar? Sam Waxel. Remember ImClone? Right around the same period. ImClone, insider trading. You might recall, if you're old enough and got a good memory, Sam Waxel and Martha Stewart. Remember that? Martha Stewart kind of took the big fall. She went to jail for insider trading. That was back in 2002, 2003, so something like that. How about Dennis Kozlowski? Anybody remember that name? Dennis Kozlowski, the flamboyant CEO with the expensive, lavish parties, including his Greek and Roman toga party. I think $2 million party he held for his birthday party for his wife back in, 2000. He was the CEO of Tyco. Tyco. More securities fraud. How about Bernie Madoff? We all know Bernie Madoff. We can't forget about Adam Neumann, WeWork. How about Nick Woodman, GoPro? These are scam companies pumped up by the mafia to dupe investors. And of course, Adam Neumann is a very wealthy man now, although he engaged in fraud. Nick Woodman, very wealthy man. How about Rick Singer? Steve Cohen? Remember Steve Cohen, SAC Capital? Found that his firm was engaging in insider trading for some 17 years. So what happened to Steve Cohen? Well, it wasn't me, it was my employees. And his buddies at the FCC, and you know who runs the FCC, his buddies gave him, it's failure to supervise. You didn't supervise these guys. He got a slap on the wrist. Nothing happened to him. And guess what? You got the stool pigeon, the fall guy. Seems like these hedge fund guys, they got these fall guys. I think they lure, seems like a lot of Indian guys. They're putting in positions for specific reasons. They're the guys going to jail, even though they're not the guys to blame. That's what I've noticed. Steve Cohen, he got to keep all the money that he stole in insider trading. How about Leon Cooperman? Omega Advisors? Now that's a double whammy with Leon, I think, because he also was involved, I think, in sexual allegations. I'm not sure. How about everyone's favorite stock manipulator and clown, Carl Icahn, Mr. Insider Trading? How about Paul Singer, Elliott Management, the parasite, whose fund management strategy consists of bringing a crew of attorneys in, buying up distressed debt from sovereign nations at pennies on the dollar, bringing in his attorneys and trying to seize assets from those countries, like what he did with Argentina. Folks, I think it should be obvious by now. I mean, who else knows all this stuff? In addition to the stuff I know in the securities market. I'm clearly a very top figure. Why don't you hear about me? Why isn't the media talking about my financial crisis track record? Why? Why has no one come say, I want to interview you. I want to know how you discovered, how you knew, because people don't even know about the financial crisis. Most people don't even understand. They believe Michael Burry predicted the financial crisis because they watched some stupid fictional movie in Hollywood. That's how stupid these people are. Michael Burry, broken clock clown. How about the Sackler family? Purdue Pharma, right? Remember them? More recent? Even more recent, Taryn Pizer, On Track, Insider Trading. How about, let's get to crypto here. How about Alex Mashinsky? Celsius, remember that? How about Kyle Davies, Three Arrows Capital? Remember them? Zach Prince, BlockFi? How about Stephen Ehrlich, Voyager Digital? And then we've got the peddlers of crypto scams. Kevin O'Leary, Mark Cuban, John and Pete Nigerian, Tim Draper, Cameron and Tyler Winklevoss, okay? And every media firm and media financial website out there, peddlers of crypto. Cryptocurrencies are a scam. All of them. I said this from the beginning. We'll get to that here in a second. CNBC, Yahoo Finance, Benzinga, Seeking Alpha, YouTube, all the peddlers of crypto. Aren't they complicit? Yet they still promote crypto today even. How about Michael Kives? Anybody know this guy? Michael Kives. He's the Hollywood agent who connected SBF to all these Hollywood figures. You see? Tom Brady, Giselle, Shaq. He's the point man. You see? And then, of course, you've got the YouTubers that are in the class action lawsuit for promoting FTX, selling unregistered securities. Tom Nash, who's still hiding. He's hiding from the legal system. Tomer Nesher is his name. Meet Kevin, who he settled with the law firm. And the law firm, they're lightweights, by the way. They don't even care. They just want to settle. This is unfortunate. How do I know? Because I've talked to them. Bunch of lightweights. Graham Stephan's involved, of course, and a few others, right? And I mentioned, Graham Stephan's involved in this lawsuit, FTX, right? I mentioned earlier, I made a video of him. I think it's floating around on YouTube somewhere, but it's on my website. Last year, I made a video showing Graham Stephan actually has edited his videos. He spliced out his promotion of the cryptos that collapsed, including FTX. I have the original video and I show it. Can you believe that's fraud? He spliced out promoting FTX and endorsing them. He removed that. If you take a look at the current video, I don't know it offhand. He's got the spliced version on his site. I've got both versions and I showed that. Can you believe that? How about Vladimir Tenev, Robinhood, scam company. Elon Musk, right? Kathy Wood, Tom Dorsey. How about the Wall Street executives and players, big players behind the 2008 financial crisis, including Alan Greenspan, including the CEOs of Fannie and Freddie and the mortgage companies and the big banks? Nobody went to prison. How about the regulators of the securities industry, SEC, CFTC, NFA, FINRA? How about all the major investors and kingpins in crypto? I haven't even listed them all. I wrote an article, actually. You might want to read that. The real reason Gary Gensler is suing Binance. Okay? Very extensive article that exposes everything. So all these names I've been talking about now for about, 10 minutes. I mentioned all the names, gave you some background on most of them. Can you name one common thing, one thing they all have in common? Can we find a common ground? And this is just the tip of the iceberg, by the way, just on the top of my head. Is there a common ground? If we could only find a common link, right?